It is April 1st, 1765, and here on late-breaking Wave 8 News tonight, children are being forced to work and transportation is taking a turn. Now to you, Courtney and Megan, with late-breaking news.
Okay. Good evening, Britain. It is April 1st, 1765, and children are being forced to work.
Yes, Megan, that sure is something. And also transportation has taken some turns with the invention of the steamships and more. Now to you, Megan, about transportation.
Thanks, Courtney. The Industrial Revolution changed the way things were made as new machines invented in the 1700s and 1800s meant it was possible to mass-produce goods in factories. Steam engines were used to pump water out of mine shafts and to power new transportation systems. Engines and furnaces were all fueled by coal. By the 19th century, coal was being transported to the factories by ship or rail. The Industrial Revolution depended on transportation to move materials, goods, and people. Canals were dug in the 18th century. In the 19th century, it was the turn of the railroad. Now, you may be wondering, why did the Industrial Revolution happen in Britain? The answer is simple. In Britain, we have many smart, wealthy people who are willing to invest in our technology and our factories. We also have a government that encourages businesses to develop. Another reason we were able to start the revolution is because we have coal and other resources we can use to power steam engines and other types of transportation. Now we have Courtney with child labor.
Thanks, Megan, about that information about the transportation. Now on to child labor. Child labor began with jobs that required long hours and little pay. Every able family member was needed to work, including children as young as 3. Now, young children working endured some of the harshest conditions. Work days for them were mostly 10 to 14 hours with minimal breaks. Factories employing the children were often very dangerous places, leading to injuries and sometimes even death, costing these children their lives. Beyond the topic of safety, children working lengthy hours had limited access to education, so that means they weren't able to go into business because of their lack of education. Now, on to a special interview with Courtney Stovall and Elizabeth Bentley on Elizabeth's time working in the flax mill. Good afternoon, Britain. I'm here today with Elizabeth Bentley, here to my left. She's here to talk to us today about her time spent in the mill. Good afternoon, Elizabeth.
Good afternoon, Courtney.
What age are you?
23.
And what time did you begin to work at the factory?
When I was 6 years old.
What kind of mill was it?
It was a flax mill.
What was your business in that mill?
I was a little dolpher.
What were your hours of labor?
From 5 in the morning till 9 at night when they were thrown.
For how long a time together have you worked that excessive length of time?
For about half a year.
What were your usual hours of labor when you were not so thronged?
From 6 in the morning till 7 at night.
What time was allowed for your meals?
40 minutes at noon.
Had you any time to get your breakfast or drinking?
No, we got it as we could.
And when your work was bad, you hardly had any time to eat at all?
No, we were obliged to leave it or take it home. And when we did not take it, the overlooker took it and gave it to the pigs.
Do you consider dolphing a laborious employment?
Yes.
Explain what it is you had to do.
Well, when the frames are full, they have to stop the framing and take the flyers off and take the full bob off and carry them to the roller and then empty ones on and set the frames on again.
Does that keep you constantly on your feet?
Yes, you have no time for anything.
Your labor is very excessive, right?
Yes.
Suppose you flagged a little or were too late. What would they do?
Strap us.
Constantly?
Yes.
Are they in the habit of strapping those who are late and last in doffing?
Yes.
Girls as well as boys?
Yes.
Have you ever been strapped?
Yes.
Severely?
Yes.
Could you eat your food well in the factory?
No, indeed I had not much time to eat, and little I had I could not eat it. My appetite was poor and being covered with dust, and it was no use to take it home. I could not eat it, and the overlooker took it and gave it to the pigs.
Did you live far from the mill?
Yes, 2 miles.
Had you a clock?
No, we had not.
Supposing you had not been in time enough in the morning at the mills, what would have been the consequence?
We should have been quartered.
What do you mean by that?
If we were a quarter of an hour late, they would take off half an hour. We only got a penny an hour, and they would take a half penny more.
Were you generally there on time?
Yes, my mother had been up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and at 2 o'clock in the morning the colliery used to go to their work about 3 or 4 o'clock, and when she heard them stirring, she had got up out of her warm bed and gone out and asked them the time, and had sometimes been at Hunslet car at 2 o'clock in the morning when it was showering down with rain, and we had had to stay until the mill was open.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for that intriguing story on her work in the mill. Well, there you have it. That's Elizabeth Bentley and Courtney Stovall talking of Elizabeth's time in the mill. Now, back to you, Megan.
Thank you, Courtney, for that heartfelt interview with our own Elizabeth. It was very interesting to know what really went on.
No, thank you, Megan. Well, that's all we have here tonight on our Wave 8 News Show. I'm Courtney Stovall.
And I'm Megan Pottinger with your news late and fast.
Have a good evening, Britain.